Hi guys, welcome to Northwest Connnection. In this episode we sit down with mastering engineer Stephen Kerrison, the sonic alchemist behind records from bands like Conjurer, Wren and Still. From his neon-lit lab of knobs and sliders, Stephen breaks down the art of sculpting sound, balancing chaos and clarity, and how the Northwest scene keeps pushing boundaries. Let's get into it.
Hello, welcome to Northwest Connnection. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I certainly am. I'm Stephen Kerrison. I'm a mastering engineer based in Liverpool.
It's okay then, Steve. So tell us, what does a mastering engineer do?
I knew this would be the opening question. So, in a nutshell, I mean, there's a very long version and a medium-sized version and a short version. So, I did a guest lecture at university last week, and when I got home, I said to my wife, I was like, oh, the guy who was invigilating said it was amazing. He said he's never heard anyone do 2.5 hours before without a break. And my wife went, did you not even let them go to the toilet? So if you want the long answer, that's how long it's going to go on. So I'll keep it really, really brief. It's basically everything that happens between a band finishing a mix in the studio and then that record getting released. So it's all of the kind of making sure everything's nice and loud, making sure everything sounds as good as it can possibly be, making sure everything's prepared for the kind of formats that it's going to be released on. Just all that sort of stuff that makes sure that when the record goes out, it sounds, as brilliant as it possibly can.
What pulled you towards that rather than mixing or producing?
Attention span, I think, a little bit. It's and picking my own hours as well. So right. I arrived at this through like most people do. I arrived at it through playing. Like I've been in like tons of bands over the years and things like that, and it just got to the point where in order to make money, I needed to not be traveling, because in bands you're touring all the time. You have to go out to make money. Whereas once I got a dog, and I just didn't want to leave the dog, so it's got to kind of find something that you can do close to home, and and still be able to be involved in music as well. And I think mixing and production, they're much more in-depth processes that take a much longer, and they're much more kind of involved, and you're much more at the behest of artists and bands and things like that. Basically, I wouldn't want to work with me when I was in a band, sort of dictating what hours people are going to be working and all that sort of stuff. And I just really like the idea of the kind of the part of the process that's a little bit less less talked about and a little bit less well known, I guess. I found it really intriguing.
So was it a gradual process from transferring from being a musician and going on playing gigs to being a full-time engineer?
Yeah, it was definitely. It's I was really lucky in that when I started doing it, I say lucky, but I was fortunate in that I had been playing for so long. I'd been playing for 20 odd years, and you build up a lot of friends and a lot of people who still make music, and all my friends still made music and things like that. So I almost had this kind of ready-made pool of people where I can just go, look, I'm doing this now. If you want to give me your stuff and see what I can do with it, then let's see what happens. If it's rubbish, it doesn't matter. So it's a really nice. I had sort of my friends who were all in brilliant bands to practice on, basically.
Do you remember which was the first track that you mastered?
Oh, blimey! I don't really. I remember the first one that came out that I was really, really pleased with, which was a friend of mine called Robin Allender, who made. He used to play guitar for. He's been a solo artist ever since I've known him, but he also played guitar for Jan Tiersen. He used to play for Gravenhurst as well, and he'd had this little acoustic EP that he'd recorded in a pub garden, whilst the pub was open. Just sort of sat. He just sat at the back of the garden quite late at night and recorded this thing. And it wasn't the first one I did, but it was the first one I thought, I'm really chuffed with that. And that got released and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really cool.
So that sounds very DIY as well. You have come from a DIY background. Do you think that's helped shape how you learn your craft?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. It's everything's been really gradual, and everything's been it's all come from that DIY thing, that way of thinking. Like, I haven't come up through the London studio system or anything like that. I don't have any formal like music or education or anything like that. It's like, I'm self-taught, and it's all come from just being involved in music and wanting to still carry on being able to serve that ecosystem, I think, like in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Like, I stagger my rates and stuff like that to give preferential treatment to to independent musicians and DIY and people who sort of are making music for because they have to, like this stuff that we all like. It's like, it's never going to go away because it has to exist, and like, it's really important for me to be able to provide a service that has value, I think, to that scene or ecosystem, whatever you want to call it.
So before mastering became your lane, what was your musical life like? What type of bands were you in?
I've been in a lot of bands over the years. I think the first, I grew up on the Isle of Man, so it's a bit of a sort of funny, it's a bit of a late starter when it came to sort of doing like my brain didn't get fully cracked open, I don't think, to like what was possible, in kind of music and underground music and things like that, until a little bit later on. The first band that I was in, I moved to Bristol when I was 19, and I started a band with some guys there, which was really nice. Got introduced to lots of people who I'm still really, really good friends with now. And then in about the mid-2000s, I joined this outfit called Safety Word, who were kind of like, we often got lumped in with kind of like a math rock sort of thing, but we weren't very rock at all, but we were quite weird in terms of like time signatures and stuff like that. So it all kind of lent itself quite nicely. And I did lots of kind of experimental stuff along the way. And then in about 2012, I joined a band called Zonzonagui, who were we were on Bella Union Records, which was really lovely. Again, kind of quite high octane, tricksy time signatures and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You can see why I've ended up working with all the bands who I work with. And that lasted until about 2015, I think. And I did a few things after that. But it was all, I think after that, it started to be the transition, I think, from sort of 2015 onwards, where I was playing less and learning more. And just kind of figuring out my place in this whole, in this world, really, in this musical, that sounds really big, I didn't mean it quite like that, but, in this musical landscape that we...
So where are you based now then, Stephen?
I'm in Liverpool. I moved here nearly a decade ago, and it's just, it's been amazing. It's just been it's such a brilliant city, and I love it so much, and I love living here so much, and it's been really amazing to meet so many brilliant people who are involved in music here. I knew quite a few of them already, so back in 2005, I think it was 2005, maybe 2006, my band supported a band called Hot Club de Paris, who are from Liverpool. And we went on tour with them and stuff like that. And I now, 20 years later, run my studio with Paul from Hot Club de Paris. We run a studio called Permanent Collection in South Liverpool, and we've run it together for the last nearly 7 years. It's there's a lot of I think when I first started moving away from playing in bands, I tried to put a bit of a separation between the two worlds. Right, so now I'm doing kind of more serious audio stuff, and it's just, after a while I was just like, there's no separation here at all. Like all the stuff that I've done and all the people that I've met, they're all it's all just one continuation, I think.
What bands got you into music in the first place?
What bands got me into music?
Yeah,
like originally in the first place when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of it was from my dad, obviously. Like the Beatles were massive and still are for me. And I think I started getting into like when I was a kid, you don't like sort of anything really, like pop things and things like that. But then like Guns N' Roses and Appetite for Destruction came out. I think I must have only been about 6 or something. But for whatever reason, I like that. And you know, my dad made a tape for me of all of the songs that didn't have swear words in them. So it wasn't that long a tape, really. Had a few tunes on it. But then, like, yeah, I was really into metal when I was a kid, and I was really into, I still am. I think if you get into metal when you're young, it never goes away, no matter what else you get into. And I was super into that, and I really liked, so a friend of mine at school's older brother was super into Iron Maiden. So I like discovered Iron Maiden. This is like sort of, like, so it's still in primary school we're talking here, and then like the sort of whispers started to go around. It's like, did you know there's this other band called Metallica? They're even heavier than Iron Maiden. I was like, no way! Like, oh my god, I can't believe it. And then you sort of get into Metallica, and I think it's like still something I do, like just trying to find like the next thing, like what's the next most like extreme thing. And obviously once you get to kind of like I'm 45 now, and it's like once you get to sort of into adulthood, that stuff is harder to find because you kind of like everything's kind of been done, and you've seen, you know, you've gone as far as you know. And then, but every now and again, something comes up where I'm just like, oh yeah, that's even more extreme in one way or another. Whether it's like doesn't necessarily have to be heavy or noisy or anything, but just something that's like taken something beyond, which is really amazing. Still constantly search for that.
So what bands have been piquing your interest recently then?
I think in that world, I went to see World Peace the other week in Manchester. I don't know whether you guys have heard of them. Sort of like San Francisco, I guess they're kind of like hardcore power violence sort of thing. That was up there with one of the most extreme things I've ever seen. It was incredible. They played at the Star and Garter in Manchester, and their whole set, they headlined from San Francisco, and their whole set was done in like 9 minutes. It was unreal. It was just so intense, and then it was done. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, but what else has been piquing me interest? I've been listening to the new Peach album a lot. I think that's amazing. I know you guys have spoken to Sans Freud before. So Peach is Ellie, who does their does backing vocals for them sometimes. Her band. I saw them the other week. They're amazing. What else have I seen this week? I saw DJ Haram last month. That was really incredible down at Quarry. That was an amazing set, actually. Really kind of again quite full on, quite different to I think what a lot of people were expecting. God, you've really put me on the spot, actually.
I think you give it enough there.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much good stuff. There's always so much good music. I mean, obviously, just going by, you know, all the people that you guys have spoken to, like, there's so much, and people are making amazing stuff, making such good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good music out there at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I think it's with platforms like Bandcamp, it's making it a lot easier to hear these bands that you may not have heard before as well.
100%. I always find bands who, if I find one band and they're playing, chances are that like the other two bands that are playing on that bill are going to be worth checking out. You know, and it just becomes this like sort of spider's web of like discovering new stuff. You know, sometimes it doesn't always work out, but most of the time it does, I think.
So if we go on to the process, where does it start, the engineering process for you?
So usually it starts when the band have been into the studio, they've recorded, and they're mixed. And it's like, right, we've got the mixes, it now needs sort of taken to that final kind of stage where things get quality checked. I sort of I do. There's quite a lot of dry elements to my job where it'll be searching for just making sure there's no mistakes, like making sure there's no technical errors, making sure the files are all kind of there working, and and then it's a bit more of a creative process where I'm listening to stuff and making sure that the mixes are conveying what the music's trying to do properly. So it's a case of like, if something's like really full on and heavy, like, is it heavy enough? Is it doing that job? Is it taking your face off? Like, you know, or if it's, you know, something dancey or whatever, it's like, is it grooving properly? Is it doing the thing that I do? And then part of my job is to make sure that the things that are supposed to be happening within the mix are happening properly and that they're coming across properly. Because I think it's like, can be the difference between a record like connecting and not, I think, for sure. So yeah, that's usually when I come in. Sometimes it'll be a little bit earlier. Sometimes people want me to get involved like one step earlier, where they've got their stems sorted and stuff like that, but they're not quite ready to commit to the final mix. So there's a bit of sometimes people want you to come in a little bit earlier, just to get, it's usually just so that people can have a little bit more flexibility before they commit, or maybe they're a little bit unsure about something and just need that little bit more guidance to get it over the finish line.
Are some genres harder to engineer than others?
Yeah, they are. I find, but for different reasons, I think. So, I mean, as probably gathered, I love like my super heavy, super loud stuff. But like, man, I can't work on that every day. Like, it's like sort of sitting and listening to stuff, like, and not just listening to it as well, but like really critically listening to it, and really sort of getting in the weeds of what things sound like. It's exhausting. Like, if I do like a super loud record, by the end of the day, I'm like, that's a lot. I need a folk record tomorrow. But that's cool because my tastes are really, really wide, and I just really, if someone's willing to commit to making an album or making an EP or whatever, and just are willing to kind of invest that time and money into making it as good as they possibly can, then it's my duty to give it like 100% attention and make sure that it's really, really great. So yeah, in that respect, yes, like something like that is a little bit more difficult because it's hard on your ears and things like that. But then in the other direction, something like a symphonic thing or a classical thing, that's more difficult again, but for different reasons. It's like a little bit more complex. I tend to do less of that, I must admit. It's, I don't exclude any genres, but just because of like who I am and where I've come from, I tend to work within certain kind of parameters and genres, really.
So do you have an internal checklist that you go through before you even touch a knob?
Yeah, I do. Everything gets put into Isotope RX first of all, so I can actually see what the waveform looks like, and I need to make sure that it's in the right sample rate, it's in the right bit depth. I can see if there's any little clicks and pops, if the reverb tail's been cut off or any of that sort of stuff. That's before I even press play, let alone played with the knob. But yeah, then when I'm listening, it's quite a funny thing to explain. It's like, it's quite a weird, because people talk about mastering, like I'm sure you've heard people say like, oh, it's a dark art, and it's and all the rest of it. And much as it's, in some respects, it's not, because it's actually a relatively kind of simple process. I think it just requires a way of listening that is quite odd and that is quite difficult to get your head around, because you simultaneously have to listen for two different things. So you've got to listen for like the real minutiae of like, is there a little pop there where there's been a bad edit, or you're really kind of listening super closely. But at the same time, you've also got to step back and consider it as a piece of music rather than, like a piece of audio. You've got to be like, oh, is this song working? Does this sound like a record yet? And they're quite broad ways of thinking rather than detailed ways of thinking. So it does take quite a lot of training. I think that's, to go back to an earlier question, that's another reason I don't do anything else, because I just want to be really good at this. And I think to do anything else, you have to come out of that headspace.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to go in and out of. For me, anyway, I find. People do it, and some people are very good at it. But yeah, I struggle with that.
So does that mean it's quite a formulaic process? Do you ever change it up at any point?
I mean, every song is different. There's no, there's like, I don't work to any kind of like templates or, you know, themes or anything like that of equipment. It's like every single song starts from scratch, because every piece of music's different, and nothing will need exactly the same thing as the thing you've just done, like ever. So in that respect, yeah, things get changed up every single time. And I think it's another thing I really like about mastering as a discipline, because it's right at the intersection between things having to be like technically correct, but also there's like a level of creativity there as well, where you're sort of thinking, oh, could I make this better? Could I make this sound even better? So it's this really nice sort of middle ground where things that are 100% black and white meet with things that are actually quite, you know, a bit more esoteric, which is it's a nice space to be in, especially if you love listening to music like I do.
Yeah. But what's the most helpful thing an artist can tell you before you start?
Let's think. I think it's important. The more communication, the better, I think. Because I think the more I understand the band, and the more I understand what they want and what they're looking for and how they see their band, the easier it is for me to like get into their headspace, so that I can, you know, try and serve their music as authentically as I can.
Yes.
So it's never. So things like sometimes I ask people for references, like reference songs, and that could mean they might send something where they're just like, I kind of want it to sound like this, or they might say, oh, I really liked what you did on this record. Could you aim it kind of in this ballpark? But sometimes they'll just send a list of songs they like. This is like I send a playlist. And it's and it's much more of a kind of like, that's getting into kind of, this is the vibe we're looking for, rather than rather than anything particularly black and white. So yeah, either's totally valid. I like to talk to artists beforehand and have as much to and fro beforehand, so that I know where they're coming from, and I know what they're looking for, and I know where they want their music to be. Yeah, because it can make a difference, but definitely.
So how do you handle a track that's emotionally great but technically messy?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's if it's not technically wrong, like if you know, if nothing's like cut off or distorting or crackling or whatever, if it's just a bit shunky, then I do the best I can. And then I'll send it back to the artist and go, right, this is what I did. I think potentially it could be better if you maybe change this about it, if you can. Because sometimes people can't. Sometimes people aren't in a position to start changing mixes and stuff. And we just kind of find the best that we can get out of it. I do think, though, that... I know it's it's a bit of a broad thing to say, but like, the best song in the world will still be the best song in the world if you record it on a dictaphone. Like, that song will still be amazing. Whereas the worst song in the world, recorded at Abbey Road, will still be shit. You'll just be able to hear fully how bad it is. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I obviously really care about audio fidelity and making sure things sound as good as possible, but sometimes the song just has to be at the forefront, and that's what's got to carry it.
So what have you been working on recently?
Well, problem is I can't really say that, because it's not my it's not my place to start announcing people's records.
Is there anything that you can talk about then? Sorry.
Yes, there is, of course. I've had there's been some really great records come out so far this year that are going to be amazing. Again, like going back to Sans Freud, they've got a new record coming out. The first couple of singles are out already, and if you thought their last album was good, blimey, the new one is something else. What else have I done? There's a new Bicurious record on the way, if you know those guys. They've got an EP coming out, which is 3 or 4. No, it's 4 songs that they left off the last album that they've sort of finished up, and they're all brilliant. And then the second side of it is acoustic versions of 4 songs off the last album, which initially I was a bit like, oh no, really? You're going to do like a MTV Unplugged thing? That might suck. And it, my God, it's amazing. It's so good. Like they've nailed it. It's unbelievable. What else is coming out? The Burned as Witches album came out recently, which is Rick from Ash. It's his solo thing. That's really great. That's new out. There's what else is coming out? New Life album. Life from Hull. They've got a new album coming out, which I worked on.
You've been very busy.
Yeah, it has been a busy start to the year. I try and keep it so I'm busy enough that there's momentum, but not so busy that it becomes a conveyor belt. Because I think that's definitely something I see with like the bigger studios and more higher profile engineers, where they're just so busy that it's, because it's hard. I mean, it's hard. The music industry is hard. It's a hard place to kind of, not least for artists, but it's just like, it's a hard place to make a living. So I think when the opportunity is there to just do as much as possible, then people take it, and I don't blame them. But it's I'm quite conscious of not filling my days up too much, because I also know that you're talking about listening, critical listening, really listening closely and properly with your full attention. I can only do that for 5-6 hours maybe, and then I'm done after that. I can't make good decisions. So it's so my days are generally, they start with some admin and they start with some prep and things like that, and they finish with some admin and some prep as well, because I can't once it gets to sort of 5 o'clock ish, sort of listening to stuff, I can't make head or tail of it anymore. My headspace just isn't there.
So how does this affect your normal listening to music then, when you're sitting there critically listening to music all day?
Well, funnily enough, it doesn't affect me at all. And I only have realised, relatively recently that that's weird, and that other engineers don't feel that way. And I don't know whether that's like whether that's a neurodivergence or what. I don't know, but I'm quite happy to finish work, tidy up, do some emails and stuff like that, and then just put earphones on my way home and listen to something else. I thought that was just like being dead into it, but I speak to other people and it's like, what the fuck, man? That's no. So
are there any labels or artists that you like to cross paths with?
God, yeah, loads. I guess it's one of those things, because if you're like a really big music fan, when you're going into this sort of stuff, you just want to work with your favourite bands. I'd love to work with my favourite bands. And when you do get to work with people who are, who are heroes, or who you really like, I did a couple of years ago, I did the last Pet Brick album, which is Igor Cavalera from Conjurer, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Like, what a dream job, It's like an amazing record, and my name's going to be alongside his on a piece of vinyl. He told me that when I was like 15. So it's that really. It's I want to be working with bands who, obviously, I mean, I'd love to work with Napalm Death, for example. They're one of my favourite bands of all time. But I think, let me word this properly. I think I just want to keep working with bands who are making music for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And it, regardless of genre or anything like that, it doesn't matter. I think there's because of the way things are in the music industry at the moment, there are so many things distracting artists from making music from the heart, from the soul, because they're being told they have to chase these things. So, they've got to chase playlist placements and make sure it sounds good on TikTok, and and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, before they've even written anything, they've like got all these considerations, and they're just noise. Like, they're just noise. And I think it's I think when a band are not thinking about that sort of stuff and they're making something that's really authentic to them, you can really tell. I just love working with bands who are doing that. And there's lots of bands still doing that as well. Like, I think you're kind of led to believe that that's some sort of weird minority, and I don't think it is. I think most bands still operate like that. Don't know what you guys think about that from the people you speak to.
Yeah, definitely from the people we speak to.
Yeah.
The passion's still there to create good music rather than anything else.
Yeah, my favorite interview that you guys did was with Test Plan.
It's okay.
It's I've mastered every single they've put out so far.
They're awesome. What a band.
They're just amazing, and listening to the way they were talking about how they do their stuff was just like, oh god, they're so in it, and I admired it so much. They were talking like about how each of them have all these different roles, and like the sort of all the sort of workload is split between them. Yeah. Loved what they were saying about getting really excited before they play live and stuff like that, rather than just sitting having a drink. Like, it's stuff like that I find really appealing. These people who are just they're so into it. I just want to do it. Bands like that are amazing.
Yeah, the majority of bands we have on have got that, that drive and that passion behind them. So that's why we do it.
I think so. I mean, a lot of people who who I know that you've spoken to, they're bands who are not really doing anything different to how it's always been done. They're playing together in a room, and then they're going out and playing in front of other people in a room and hoping that they buy a record at the end. It's like, that's just... That's no different to anything else that's ever been going on.
I think the playing field at an independent level has been levelled a bit easier, though, hasn't it? Really, when you think about some of the platforms that you've got out there to record yourself, release yourself, it's probably a lot more level than it ever has been before.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been for better or worse, there's lots of things have been democratized. Like, definitely from the like technical point of view, like you said, recording yourself and stuff like that. I mean, every laptop, every Mac laptop's got GarageBand in it, and that's it's more powerful than like anything anyone ever used up until about mid '90s or something. It's incredible. But yeah, I think it's. God, this is a really big conversation. I think it has created a sort of a separate thing, which is people who are super interested in like the making of the audio and super into like the plugins and the technology and stuff like that, who aren't necessarily thinking about it as being in terms of being a musician, and kind of what comes out at the end is almost just like a byproduct of their sort of just having fun. But yeah, if you're a band or an artist or something and you want to just record something and get something out there, you can do it for next to nothing. You'll get next to nothing back, which is that's the kind of bad side of it, unfortunately. Because I don't know, music shouldn't be free, should it? I don't think so.
No, not at all. So, do you see your role changing with the more artists self-produce and self-release?
Maybe. I think it tends to shift slightly. Like every couple of years, there'll be more people like post-COVID, for example. There was so much music that had just been made in bedrooms because people couldn't get into the studio, and it almost kind of worked in my favour actually. In like financial, I don't mean COVID the thing. I just mean that as a shift in the way things were doing, because they had people were spending the time mixing themselves and then getting a mastering engineer at the end just to kind of like check over what they've done, rather than instead of spending the money on a mix engineer, which frankly would probably have been money better spent. They kind of learned to do it themselves, and then at the end gone like, could you mold this or shape this in any way? Because it's I think that's another thing I really like about working with lots of independent and DIY artists, is that there's not so for example, if you watch like interviews with some of the really big top mastering engineers, the ones who are working on the big pop stuff, like a common thing that you'll hear is just like, well, sometimes mastering's just not really doing anything. I'm like, Man, when was the last time you worked on something made in a bedroom? Like, I got like roll my sleeves off and I'm like, right, okay, let's get in here. I really, that to me is more interesting. Getting stuck in and having my skills tested and things like that. It's the idea of getting something, listening to it, and going, "Yep, that's fine. That'll be £500, please." It's, that's not for me.
Rather get stuck in.
I think the big question that comes up all the time is like the AI question. It's like, oh, can't AI just do it? And it's like, no, no, it can't. And, yeah, that's the end.
We're going to move on to the fun section now. So what was the first gig you ever attended?
Status Quo.
We've not had Quo before, I don't think.
Status Quo.
That is a first, I think.
Yeah, there you go. 91, I think.
Really good.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Fucking yeah. Was it amazing? Was it killer?
Amazing.
If you could swap ears with any musician for one day, whose ears are you borrowing and why?
Fucking hell. Like swap ears with swap ears with Robert Plant in 1973, so I could hear what Zeppelin sounded like behind me.
Good answer.
Yeah, top answer.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would.
Stand in front of John Bonham. Yeah, I'd go for that.
What's the one artist you'd love to master, but you'd be slightly fearful?
Oh, fucking hell. I think it'd have to be like one of the really big ones. People who are known to be difficult. I don't know. I'm a really, really big Blur fan. I think like Damon Albarn's like a real genius. And but yeah, I also find him intimidating. So maybe like the next Gorillaz record. But I'd be terrified.
What's the most overrated sound in music?
Overrated sound in music. That thing where people sing a melody and then they sing exactly the same melody on top of it an octave higher. Don't like the sound of that.
What plugin would you ban for a week?
Would I ban for a week?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably something like. Hold on. I mean, anything that does things for you.
I was going to say auto-tune.
Yeah, like auto-tune maybe. Yeah. I mean. Yeah, I know auto-tune kind of has its place, I guess, but But yeah, I know what you're saying. I think it'd be something that that like kind of does things for you. Those like auto EQ things where like you get a preset for like a guitar and then that's rubbish. Like every guitar sounds different to every other guitar. So that's silly. Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff that the one-click stuff. Rubbish.
If your studio chair could talk, what gossip would it spell about your sessions?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. So part of my job is so at the end, once I've done all the like really big work, one of the things that is really important is to listen through to a record when you're not really paying that much attention to it. Because for some reason, when you do that after you've done all the really intense work, if you've done something wrong, it will jump out really easily. So the last hour of my day is usually spent doing that whilst playing darts. So I imagine my studio chair will be like, yeah, there's no way he scored that many 180s that he tells me.
What studio, past or present, would you like to work in, even if it's just one?
Well, I've kind of already... I've almost done this in that, like, I did one of the masterclass events down at Real World Studios a couple of years ago, and I gave me and a colleague gave a talk in Real World, and I got to spend the day there and see all the stuff and get shown around by the engineers and get fed at the big communal table, and it was just like one of the most magical places I've ever been to, ever. It was amazing, and it was.
Cool.
I'm a bit, because I don't really care that much about kind of big commercial studios and stuff. It don't really interest me very much. But that place was, even though it was like the top end, you could tell that the people working there, they really, really cared about music and creativity, and they were just brilliant. And the whole space just had such an amazing atmosphere and things like that. So, I mean, it's the best recording studio I've ever been to. But I guess I'd like to hear what some of the best mastering rooms in the world sound like, because I'm always a little bit skeptical about the idea of the perfect room as well. I think it's like it's chasing something that maybe doesn't exist. But I'd still like to hear it, because every mastering studio I've ever been in up to this point in my life, I've always sat there and gone, yeah, this sounds brilliant, because it should, but I've never really come away going like, oh my God, you know. And I think I'd like to feel that, because I'm sure those rooms will exist. You know, something like, I don't know, like Heber Kadri's room in New York. Like, her room is just, it looks so amazing, and I'd love to hear what it sounded like. And I'd love to go to Electrical Audio as well, just to, you know, pay my respects to Steve.
I was thinking Electrical Audio, to be honest, as well. That'd be
it'd be great. And weirdly, like, lots of people I know have been there, because he was kind of, you know, it wasn't hugely expensive to record, and, you know, I know a few people who recorded there. It's amazing, isn't it? Like, how accessible
crazy
made it.
If you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Sing to God by Cardiacs. Really long for a start. Either that or the White Album, I think. One of those two.
If you could have a theme tune that played every time you walked into the studio, what would it be?
The original Grange Hill theme.
That was a good knee-jerk answer.
You just got to go with it, haven't you? First thing that pops in.
We're going to move on to our quick fire questions now. Vinyl or streaming?
Vinyl.
Clean top end or heavy low end?
Oh, God, you have to choose.
Yeah.
My whole job is to making sure there's both. Heavy low end.
Big festivals or intimate gigs?
Intimate gigs.
Artist notes or no notes?
Nice notes.
Which Liverpool band, Carcass or Cast?
Carcass. Any day of the week.
We knew that.
They Live or Blade Runner?
They Live.
And then just to make it even a bit more difficult, They Live soundtrack or Blade Runner soundtrack?
Oh, that was horrible. I'm going to say They Live soundtrack, just because I saw John Carpenter when he did Manchester a few years ago.
Yeah, I did too. It was amazing.
It was so good, wasn't it?
Just seeing him with his pulling his sunglasses out ready for that song as well.
I know, what a dude.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Chips, curry or gravy?
Gravy.
Studio snacks, sweet or savoury?
Sweet for me. It's probably not the right answer, but, you know, yeah, sweet.
And our last question even. Corned beef folded into a pot tart or tuna mayo piped through into a profiterole?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Corned beef folded into a pop tart or tuna mayo piped into a profiterole?
The corned beef Pop-Tart, I think. Yeah. I mean, ideally, neither, ever. But yeah, if I had to. Gun to my head.
Well, thanks for coming on, Steve. It's been awesome.
Thank
It's
you.
totally my pleasure. Thanks so much.